So welcome everybody. Really appreciate everybody being here. So without too much ado, I'd like to introduce Dr. David Kimball. Uh, Dr. Kimball is the chair of the political science department at the University of Missouri St. Louis, and he's also a member of the Confluence Scholars Strategy Network. Proud has been really pleased and benefited from having a ongoing relationship with Dr. Kimball since 2019, when we started planning what would have been a mini Oak Park conference, which got terminated at what, 11 o'clock in the morning of the day that evening it was going to happen because of COVID. So we had a really good conference planned for that and pulled the plug at the last minute. And Dr. Kimball has also presented with Anita Mannion and a couple other people at an earlier presentation. I think it was in 2021 for Proud. Yeah. So, and also he was instrumental in our Oak Park conference. He put together the surveys, and we're going to, I hope, have you help with the assessment of those, of how the conference went. So thank you very much. Professor Kimball's research and teaching focuses on American government, election administration, political parties, public opinion, voting behavior, and interest groups. He uses geospatial methods to examine voting patterns in local and national elections and to help local governments assess voting rules and redistricting plans. He has participated as an expert in several court cases on election administration, on voting rights and redistricting. He's the co-author of 3 books, Helping America Vote, Lobbying and Policy Change, and Why Americans Split Their Tickets, and he is co-editor of Controversies in Voting Behavior. He is also a fan of the Cardinals and of the Liverpool Football Club. So glad you're here.
Thank you, Alan. Long. Happy to be here. Alan asked me to talk about voter participation, so I thought I'd kind of start big picture and then talk about voting in the election in 10 days or whatever we have left. One important feature of American government, particularly when it comes to elections, is that it's very decentralized, that each state to a large degree is allowed to adopt its own election laws, its own procedures, both for voter registration and for voting procedures. And Missouri is kind of behind the times on many of these things. So, for example, about half the states now allow people to register to vote on election day. Some states go into the polling place, register right there, and then cast your ballot. Very convenient. Missouri does not. About half the states, when you turn 18 or when you get a driver's license or go to some state, agency where they get your information, that you're automatically registered to vote. About half the states do that. Right, very convenient. It's not up to the voter. Missouri does not do that. In Missouri, it's up to the individual to register, and you got to be registered 29 days before the election, right? So for the election election in 10 days, if you're not registered now in Missouri, out of luck. Can't vote in that election, right? So, which I think is very unfortunate because a lot of people don't pay close attention to election until just like now or the week before, right? And registration period is already passed. So, voter registration, Missouri is kind of behind the times. We're getting a little better in terms of like voting procedures, making voting a little more convenient. So although not entirely. So more than half the states allow what we call no excuse absentee voting, that you can request an absentee ballot. You don't need to provide an excuse saying you're sick or going to be out of town. Um, States just offer it as a convenience. Um, More people like that, particularly after the pandemic a few years ago. Um, more than half the states offer that. Missouri does not. You probably know in Missouri you have to provide an excuse if you request an absentee ballot, and then if you do vote by absentee ballot, you need to get it notarized before you send it back. That's very onerous. So we're only a couple. Missouri and just a couple of states require that notarization thing, which is very cumbersome and unnecessary. One relatively new feature, and this is sort of where we get to a couple of the handouts here, is starting 2 years ago, Missouri allows early voting up to 2 weeks before the election in person. So it started Tuesday of this week. This in St. Louis County, this map shows there are 14 early voting, or what they call them, satellite locations. You can vote at any of those locations starting this week during business hours on weekdays and on Saturdays, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. The closest ones to here would be the UMSL Student Center, the Lewis and Clark Branch Library that's on Lewis and Clark, and then the North County Rec on Redmond Road, a bit north of here, north of 270. And I guess the Board of Elections office in St. Anne may not be that, would be the fourth. It's kind of a little further, but closer to here. This one is specific to UMSL, since that's where I work. We're very happy that UMSL is a voting location, including an early voting location. I already voted there this week. The lines are generally short, so it's not much of a wait. Show them your driver's license, and they check you in just like you're voting on election day, and it's super convenient. So pitch the end. This chart here has the hours and the address. If you put it in your smartphone, it'll show you how to get to the Millennium Student Center campus. We are fortunate in St. Louis County that we have good election directors in St. Louis County. Eric Fay and Rick Stream, the two directors who are both UMSL graduates, so happy about that at UMSL. But they're very, I would describe they're very proactive and creative in trying to, given the laws in Missouri, they work very hard to try and make the voting process as accessible as possible. The fact that we have 14 early voting or satellite locations is somewhat unusual. I have a number of students who live in St. Charles County. In St. Charles County, there's just one early voting location. It's the election clerk's office, which is not in St. Charles City, but out in, I don't know, St. Peter's or O'Fallon. It's not exactly close to where a lot of people live, and it's just the one location. And the first day, Tuesday, when they started early voting, the line was out the door, down the block. And a couple of my students complained about that. So I got to tell them, well, in St. Louis County, we got 14 different ones. And the QR code on this sheet, if you, scan that, use your phone, if you have a smartphone, use your photo to go to the website there. It'll give you a link where you can see the sample ballot of all the things on the ballot in St. Louis County. There's an app where you can, if it's during voting hours, check each location and see what the line is at each location at that time. So find the one with the shortest. If you've got a car, find the one with the shortest line and go there. there's a similar link on if you're going to vote on election day instead, it'll show you all the 200 some voting locations in St. Louis County on election day and what the line is at each one. So same thing on election day. You can vote at any location in the county. You don't have to vote at the one nearest to your house. If the line is along there, go somewhere else that has a shorter line. Alan mentioned my colleague Anita Mannion, who's another professor at UMSL. So 2022 was the first major election where this was done in St. Louis County, this Vote Anywhere program, and we did a survey of voters and poll workers after that election. And very large extent, they really like this new system. Voters like that it's more convenient, right? Go vote at any place you want. Poll workers like it because they no longer have to turn away voters. Oh, you showed up at the wrong place. You're supposed to go over there in Delwood or over there and vote, somewhere else, Cool Valley, whatever. Poll workers no longer have to worry about that. Everybody, if they're a registered voter, check them in. The machine will give them the right ballot for their address. And so far it's been, I think, mostly positive. The downside is there are fewer voting locations than there used to be. In the old system, when you had to vote at your assigned location, there were more of them, and so back then might have been your voting location was closer to your home than what's available now. So that's sort of the downside. The last handout, the sort of more detailed map, is similar to the one on the flyer. It's a rough map of Ferguson, and on that one, the green thing that looks like like a car or like a printer maybe. Those are the polling place locations on election day on November 5th. So, yeah, I sort of printed that to the area, closest to Ferguson. So you can see there are probably, 8 or 9 polling places on that map here, sort of, within a few miles of this spot here. And actually this will be a polling place on November 5th at this church, I'm guessing in this room. So, and you can, on election day on November 5th, go to any of the locations, go to the one that's most convenient or has the shortest line. So that's a nice, that Vote Anywhere thing is unique to St. Louis County, has done this on their own. The other counties in Missouri have not done that. They could if they chose to, but it takes planning, it takes work, it takes effort, and it takes some technology to make it work. And those counties manage to do that. I think there are a lot of other counties that would like to do that and are trying to figure out if they can, and they've come here to observe how St. Louis County does it and to try and take that information back to their own place. So I think we'll see more. I think the city of St. Louis is sort of starting to try this out, sort of on a smaller basis. That's one place I'm aware of. But so that's a little bit about local efforts. The county clerk or county election director is a very important person in Missouri that can either help make the voting process a little bit better and more accessible, or can make it a little difficult. One other thing that at least, well, a couple other things sort of related to voter participation for this election. Redistricting is an important feature also. So this is right after the census is done every 10 years. right? So most recently it was done in 2020. Usually the next year, we know how many people there are in the state, how many people there are in each block, and they draw new district lines for the state legislature, for the seats in Congress in Missouri, for wards, if you have, wards for your city council. In the past, Ferguson was split into multiple different districts in the state house, the state general assembly. Right, so depending on where you lived, you had a different voted for a different state rep. And those state reps often had more territory elsewhere, and maybe didn't pay close attention to issues in Ferguson. After this most recent redistricting, I think all of Ferguson now is within one state house district. I think Rachel Prouty, right, is the rep for her district includes all of Ferguson now. So I think that's a good thing, that the municipal boundaries line up with the district boundaries for the state legislature. That for the voter, that makes things a little easier to understand. So I think that's another sort of good feature locally that's happened. Last thing I'll mention, I brought with me, so you should have, the county sent to all registered voters this sample ballot and information about voting. And the sample ballot, which is really, really long. When I voted, it was both sides of an 11 by 17 inch sheet, entirely full. A bunch of state ballot measures, several county ballot measures, a lot of judges, in addition to president and U.S. Senate and all that. So it takes a while, and takes a while to cast your ballot, and to just sort of like figure out what all these different things are, and having a long ballot also could be a chore. Yes.
I think at the present time, there's residents in Ferguson have not even used the sample ballot. So I don't know when they get those out.
Okay. Yeah, I got.
Where's the sample ballot?
Mine came in the mail late last week. And it should be all like folded up like this. Then. Yeah, I think mine was Friday or Saturday.
And then one other point, Doc, I want to just mention too. I know you mentioned that voting anywhere, was a good plus. But for the ones on the ground, the camaraderie is what we lost.
Yeah.
Everybody
right.
coming to the polling place. We lost that camaraderie.
Yeah. Like for your local neighborhood or yeah.
So that's the downside that I kind of look at.
Yeah, and the early voting cuts into that too, because now instead of everybody coming together on election day, vote any day up to 2 weeks, so you don't see everybody that way either. Yeah.
And the other downside is people who don't have transportation.
Right.
Because they would normally walk right to their neighborhood local voting place.
Yeah.
Now, now what their voting place is, they can't walk to it. But I have to drive there. So I was thinking, so they didn't reduce the location. Maybe something can be in place for those people who need rides to the poll. Maybe the county or someone can provide some type of transportation for a lot of people. Like on my street, but just walk right up the street. Now it's a good ways away. Yeah, that's another con.
Yeah.
I like the fact that you can go anywhere to vote because I have a car.
Yeah.
But if I didn't have a car, it would.
Yeah. For those of us with cars, it's nice. For those without, it's harder.
I have a question. We get that ballot, so we know what's going to be on it.
Yeah.
So where can a person go to research? Because some of those things are written in a way that are really hard to understand what it's really proposing. Where do you go to to unravel the mystery of the language of the amendments and propositions and stuff.
Yeah, so, couple things, there are several sources, so let me at least mention a few that I know. The St. Louis Public Radio and St. Louis Public Post-Dispatch have voter guides that provide more information about all these things. For the candidate races, they have sort of, you know, bios of each of the candidates, like that. So those are a couple sources. For the judges, the Missouri Bar Association posts information about each of the judges on the ballot, and they conduct surveys of lawyers and citizens who've had court cases before that judge, and ask them, you know, was the judge fair? Was the judge informed? Was the judge polite?
It's all
Respectful.
online. Yeah, I mean, it's still
Yeah,
segregated from
yeah,
discriminatory.
it's online, yeah. But you can, on their website, you can information about.
What I did, like I said, it's a little different. You can go to Google and plug in that judge's name, ask questions.
Yeah.
It will give you the information. The other one that I'm cynical about is the proposal, and I go back and look, well, they told us to put money in the vote, and the vote money goes to the school, it's not going. They're telling us something about this.
Right.
So that's how.
The sports betting, yeah.
Sports betting, you know, so I look at it, I said, nah, it's not gonna go to the school because the other one. So that's how
Mhm.
Yeah,
I didn't hear what you said.
you can go to Google and type in the judge's name and ask Google questions about him. How does he
Yeah.
rule? What is the authorities think about him? Some of them are good, some of them may not be good. The other one is, I talked about the fact that I looked at a proposal about gambling. And they told us the gambling.
Yeah.
Sports betting.
that's Amendment 2.
Going to the school,
And
the
five.
old one said they didn't want to go to school.
Yeah.
School, so
Yeah.
if they come back again and tell me the same thing again, that's okey doke.
Yeah, Amendment 2 is the sports betting. Yeah, Amendment 5 is to have a new casino in the Ozarks.
Yeah.
That all presumes you
Yeah.
have access to a computer, all of it. 'Cause
Right,
without
all of
access
it.
to a
Yeah.
computer, you're not gonna- Exactly.
And some people don't have computers, like my mother and her crew over there at the
They've
home.
been
You had to sit
ignored.
down and
They've been
open it
thrown
up
away.
and show them, so don't
Yeah.
assume,
Yeah.
like you have a computer, you know.
Yeah.
And it's just-
So I would just recommend, all of those are good ideas, but we also have to have conversations with one another. Reach out to your trusted elected officials, because we don't all read with the same comprehension. So like, there may be somebody in your circle that you trust. Like I have
Yeah.
friends who are outside of Ferguson, who they're not gonna read. So they'll just call me, hey, who I'm voting for? What am I voting for? Because I know you pay attention and you take time to read and they trust my judgment. So yeah, just gotta have conversations with the fact, because like I said, there are loopholes. I don't like a lot of the amendments when they want to allocate, when they say they're gonna allocate funds for this, they never, so like, even if they were giving it to the school district,
Yeah,
most of that stuff probably gonna go to the administrators who are already overpaid, in my opinion.
Well,
Not the kids,
Yeah.
not the teachers, the administrators across. the
last time they put it in the education fund, but guess what? They took money, the same
Yeah.
amount of money out.
that was the lottery. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That
so-
was,
So if you listen, you go to Peter Henry, go to politically speaking, and in his program, he's taken each of their list and dissected it for almost an hour.
Oh,
You know,
wow.
and you, the KW.
Yeah, St. Louis Public Radio.
Yeah, and he tried to have a pro and con person for each amendment. And especially on that sports betting one, yeah, it's a whole there. So it works, and it's online, so you can, you know, it's a podcast, you can go to KW and you look for politically speaking, and you just can click on there and listen.
We're getting bogged down.
I just had a totally different feeling. If they want to bet, casinos can have a sport betting in their casinos, you know, so why do we have to help them do what we can? So that's my,
But they can't do that right now, so you got to go across the river if you
Yeah.
want to place a parlay or.
well, you can go over there and probably, you know, you got money.
Everybody don't want to go across. Some
But-
want to do it from the comfort of their home.
But if we do it here, the money stays
Right.
here,
Some
in
would.
Missouri.
Where does it go?
Yes.
That's the problem. That's the.
So I just want to back up and say, so Dr. Kimball mentioned that the public radio station and post both have have a combined voter guide. And of course, you gotta mention the League of Women Voters.
Mm-hmm.
They have one, and
Yeah,
those guides should be in all the libraries, including Ferguson Library. So don't forget that. And I
yeah.
also
St.
wanna
Louis
mention-
American probably has one too.
They probably, do. I haven't seen it.
Okay.
I saw that the St. Louis County NAACP branch has a list of suggested judges. So, and it's about, there's a lot of no's on there. A significant number of no's, which is unusual. But also you have to recognize these are Governor Parsons, a lot of them were Governor Parsons judges. So, I can send that, I can text that list to anybody who wants to have it.
Where it's needed.
Well, yeah, well,
Is this what this is about, talking about these questions, or are we?
Sure.
talking about
Any questions?
No, I meant,
Yeah.
are we talking about increasing voter enrollment or how voter engagement happens, or are we talking about state questions? That's what I'm curious about.
Both are okay with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm more curious about how do we affect turnout for local.
Yes.
That's what I'm.
Yeah.
Talking about local presidents, you
Yes.
know, they-
Yeah.
but like,
The
local
municipal.
elections,
Yeah.
the turnout is generally very low.
Yeah.
If the weather's bad, if it's cold, if it's raining, it's gonna be even worse.
Yeah.
So how can we affect,
Really.
like, have you seen or you know of strategies?
What are
to
the
take this?
success stories around? the
Yeah.
country?
That's an important question. Well,
Other than
Um,
people being upset about something, 'cause when people are outraged,
yeah.
they come on out and do what they need
Yeah,
to do. But
that's
if it's just smooth selling, it can be hard to get folks.
Yeah. Right. So, yeah. So, local elections here are in April, right? Beginning of April. Right. Separate from when we vote up for president and other stuff. And the voter turnout is a lot lower. Maybe 15%, like that, 20% maybe. Yeah, part of it is the voters just don't, right, this presidential election, we're kind of bombarded with information. In a local election, voters just don't, there isn't like lots of news coverage. So that's missing. But local community organizations can help by informing voters, informing residents about what's on the ballot. Create your own voter guide, for example. Voters still need a push or need to be encouraged or asked to vote. Even if, everyone's free to vote in an election. I think that's part of the challenge, is that a lot of the things that mobilize people or inform them in the first place aren't there in local elections, or are not, or to a much smaller degree. So it's sort of other local community groups have to fill the void in part. Yes,
So just remind me of your name,
David.
Dr. David.
David Kimball. Yeah, you can call me David.
So
Yeah.
you're expert in this, with the voting and everything. So what I looked at was, I looked at other different municipalities, other cities in, in this area, in the St. Louis region. And I found that some areas, they had, even for municipal, they had a really good turn. Of course, it's not like Ferguson, you know, it's very, very low.
Mhm.
And I don't know, I really, for the life of me, don't know how to get, I know you're saying that,
Yeah,
you know, groups can do it, but I'm trying to find how do we get those people engaged, and motivated. I have, and just really quick, I have people who, when it's municipal time, I feel like I'm dragged, you know, I'm just really working for it, to pull them out. And it's so frustrating, and now they're coming to me, you know, they're ready to vote for, I'm like, politics is local.
Mhm.
We need to do this in
Yeah.
April.
Yeah, it's very frustrating because I think the your municipal government, you know, is many ways more important. They affect your daily life more than the government in Washington D.C. And so voting in local elections is as important as voting for president.
Have you talked to
Yeah.
any other areas of cities to find out how?
Yeah.
Have you done any studies like that, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's there. It's kind. There isn't a silver bullet. I mean, at least in the St. Louis region, you're right that the wealthier communities they vote. They have a higher turnout rate. Yeah, so that's part of it. So I think some, you know, the municipal government can also do things to help inform voters. At least here's what's on the ballot. Um, Particularly if there's a local ballot measure, municipal government can they can't say, you know, you have to vote yes, but they can say, here's what the measure is about. They can do some things to at least inform the local residents about the election and what's on the ballot. Yeah, but the bottom, people still need to, you need to be interested. They need to see like, oh yeah, this election, this can affect me.
Then, like I say, when you make contact with somebody February 23rd, you really need to be able to follow up with that person when it's time to vote because life happens. People get busy. People forget. I ran for office last spring and lost by 3 votes, and I worked the polls in August, and people were coming up to they assumed I won the election. I didn't win. I lost by 3. So that lets you know how disconnected people are. They voted in April and didn't know the outcome of the election until August.
Where would
Just
they have
assumed.
read it? Where would they have seen the reports? You know, there's no easy place to find the answer on this, because I know exactly what you mean. Everything you said is exactly right. Politics doesn't happen on election day. It happens 6 months leading to election day. It happens a year leading to election day. Politics happens, and your turnout is affected by that. I'm curious if there's any studies you're aware of regarding nonpartisan municipal elections as opposed to partisan, because I think that is a terrible problem in the St. Louis area.
Yeah.
Nonpartisan
Yeah.
elections.
Yeah, turnout is higher in partisan elections.
Yeah, because there's an organization already there that exists in a political party where no one's going to agree with everything, but it's an organization that exists before the candidate is even thinking of it.
But it's a polarized organization. Do we want the best candidate, or do we?
We're not getting the best candidate.
Well,
We're getting a 15% view of the best candidate. That's the
When
exasperating
you have
part.
the party,
Well,
partisan.
I think the voters come out because you have, like the professor was talking, what's in there for me? Why am I getting up, leaving my job, come for you, man? You have a meeting, you don't even want to talk to me. So they don't, but the parties are saying to them, hey, your guns are going to be taken. Your daughters are going to become boys. And so they're telling them something they're going to lose. In the local election, we don't talk about these things. You know, you don't tell them, hey, your roads are, if you vote for me, you got the roads, the police, the this, they vote, the candidates are the ones that set up this and try to get them. You have to draw them. The candidates we've had is just, you know, you get 15 votes to a city councilman. So you have to have a message that you're delivering to the people and communicating to the people. Then the organization that you mentioned will support you by getting the message out there every day. You don't wanna come, you don't have grocery stores in your area. You like taking your money and going to Brixton to shop. You like doing this, you like doing that. You like going to Chesterfield and seeing how all the stores over there, and you come down here and you can't even so those are the kind of things that people. I made $50. I think the same day I got my check, I'm shopping where? In Chesterfield. I come back, they take that money and build up their community. So those are the kind of things you have to
So I,
communicate.
I hear what you're saying, but like, so when I ran, I just ran last spring. So it was basically a one-man operation. I knocked on every door in the ward twice. Miss Mitchell walked with me one day. Outside of that, nobody else knocked the door with me. And that's fine. It gave me an opportunity to introduce myself to those individuals who were in on it.
Mhm.
But if I would have had 2 or 3 more people, you know what I'm saying?
Yep,
Like,
yep.
when I got those 3 votes, and would I be on council now? Would I be doing good for the city? You know, it's like, so it's just like, you're right. But at the end of the day, you know, like, you gotta have that system behind you. You gotta have support. It's next to impossible to try to do it all by yourself. So this time around, I think I will have more people because now people, they know the name, people know my face. You know, I've kind of earned trust. So I have a different approach now. When I go and knock doors this year, I'm not gonna just ask for the vote and give them my literature. I'm gonna ask for their personal contact information so that I can encourage them to not just stay in line with what's going on with my campaign, but then, hey, let's go vote early.
Yeah,
Let's get it out the way.
Yeah.
You gotta collect their demographics, you gotta reach
But I
out to
didn't feel
people.
comfortable doing that.
No, no,
first
that's-
time around because you don't know.
You have a list of the registered voters.
You gotta
Collect-
get to know me first.
I was a mayor for a long time in another municipality before I moved over here.
Right.
So what I'm talking about is that when you go and reach out to people, you get their data, you call them, when you talk, you get to know about, you get information about them, have the conversation. I think it's important too, what you just said, to have the community here supporting you. That picks up the phone and get 5 people. The 5 people that get another 5 people. That's how you win the election. Everybody call each other, call the other people and say, this candidate. But if you don't do that, if that doesn't happen, you know, I don't know.
It can be uphill battle. Like I said, it was closer than close. 'Cause I have family in
Yeah.
Boston. I got like 7 relatives. They all live in Ward 1. But they couldn't know.
A different.
So you've done research on what works. Can you talk about the role of social media? Because that's the devil in the room.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, honestly, we're still trying to figure that out. I mean, yeah, it's where a lot of people get information. There's a lot of false information there. It's often hard to correct that.
There's pros and cons to it because I used social media last time around.
Yeah.
To connect with a lot of residents. You know, so if I didn't meet you when I knocked on your door, I might have met you on Facebook. Or people are always watching. So you know, there were
Yeah.
debates between myself and Kassoff and others, and so like people kind of liked how I responded to some of those
Yeah.
you know, debates, and so they reached out to me, invited me into their home. So it's definitely a tool that you have to utilize when you're running an election, especially in a local election. Because
I know 3 people on council right now, that's how they got on there. It's through Facebook. And beating your chest about what they've done. Oh, I'll help you out, I'll do this. Doing favors, basically trying to gain favor, and it worked for some people. So that when they ran for office, then people voted for them because they helped them out on Facebook. They helped them with the jobs, or they helped them get their fence fixed, or some other, or they tore down some house, or something. You know, it's really modern, but it was effective.
Handing out
And
Yeah.
I'm wondering how can we.
For local elections.
that?
Yeah. I think for local elections, social media is can be very effective and it can be more of a force for good. My initial answer, I was thinking about national elections, all crazy stuff on social media.
Is there a way of getting more polling places? Who makes that choice about where the polling places are?
That's the county election board.
You have to lobby them to get that. I mean,
Yeah, but I mean, I think if local citizens
It's so-
contact them and say, you
They don't
know,
get the turnout, then why on earth would they?
Because if you look
Well,
at this map,
yeah,
there's that road called Chambers Airport, runs basically through the middle of the map, the word Delwood smack in the
Yeah.
middle. Okay, that road is Airport Chambers. It runs pretty much smack through
Yeah.
the middle of Ferguson. North of that line, you have 6 different polling places. South of that line,
yeah,
you have one polling place that might be in Ferguson. I think all the other polling places south of that line aren't even in Ferguson.
it's in Cool Valley.
They're in Cool
Yeah, that's right,
Valley.
it's a cool
they're
valley. It's
in,
moved to Ferguson,
mhm,
Jennings.
because of construction
And-
issues. Okay.
I'm not sure about
Grant
that.
said it's Coke Elementary.
Yeah, and all of the others are. And so you've got a whole big central gap
That's really
Mhm.
important.
in Ferguson, south of that line.
mhm,
And most of those polling places aren't even Ferguson. So residents in Ferguson, in the media, it's like, south of there,
Yeah.
don't have a polling. place.
That
They
goes
do
back
not
to
have-
Allen. We don't have a vision for Ferguson. That should never have been allowed to come about, and there it did.
but you can ask the election board to put one back in there. I mean, they're
How long
not guaranteed
would
to
it
do
take to
it,
do
but
that?
yeah, but
How long would it take to get that request? They're not gonna manage it in the next 3 weeks, obviously.
right, not for this election,
Not
but
for this
for future elections.
But the mayor asking would have more clout than you asking, or a combined voice of the city council would have more
Yeah.
clout
Yeah.
in this room asking.
The more people
And
who
it
ask,
isn't-
more serious they would take it.
That's exactly what I'm saying too.
The legal procedures for providing rides to the poll, if say a church wants to
Oh, yeah,
have a church bus and go around this lower section of Ferguson. Is that legal?
absolutely.
Do they?
Most campaigns do.
Yeah, yeah.
Pardon? Right, you can't, a partisan group has to be,
I'm saying technically speaking, how could do that?
or a church could do that.
Or, okay, but I'm just saying, like, how could do that? Or in person, it's not, you know, it's not like,
Yeah, as long as you're not telling you who to vote for.
Mhm.
they fill a $1,000.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
one of the things in getting voters out is to organize possibly, a brigade of cars that will take the poll and get the word out well before where pickup points are.
But you gotta get them motivated to want to vote.
Yes.
Then you could say, do they have the means to vote?
Maybe,
Well,
Door
yes,
knocking is right now the best way to
Yeah.
get them motivated, to come out.
Yeah, so we've got to figure out how we that's, how do you motivate voters?
You motivate people to vote, you help them understand, because a lot of times, when I was trying to run, after my appointment time had ended, and I wanted to run, I would hear young and old people say, I don't mess with politics, because they got politicians gonna do whatever they wanna do. And I would tell them, you may not mess with politics, but politics will mess with you.
Yeah.
You need to
That's a good
understand that things that politicians may do once they're elected may not be in your best interest. See, I just believe people don't really have a real good understanding of how politics affect their life. And we've got it made it first. I had one person who was very committed to this community. But she said, Ms. Byrne, I just got tired. She said, they won't come out and vote, they wanna complain, and then when we lose, she said, I'm moving out first. And she did, you know, and see, she said, I appreciate you wanna still do it, but like I told her, if somebody doesn't do it, you know, you get tired, you get frustrated, but we must continue to help people understand, and especially our Black people. Politics will affect your very life. We have to help people understand that politics can affect your life. So you may be thinking, oh, they're gonna do what they wanna do anyway. My one vote, but we gotta get them to understand that better. Because that's why a lot of times I think they don't go vote. They just think, you know, our vote don't matter, that politicians gonna do what they wanna do. We've got to get them out of thinking like that.
You know, that's,
Another thing that happens in North County. You were talking about North County, having lower turnout than West County. Those are more, I'm gonna say stability in neighborhoods and communities, and West County does not have the same turnover of citizens that Ferguson does. And I think that that's a difficulty in knocking on doors because the doors that you knock on, probably about a third of them are gonna be different people answering the doors.
I'll say this one thing,
And that's more work, it's just more work, you have more turnover.
the thing that was kind of crazy were the people that wanted to talk the longest and the most were the folks that weren't registered and don't vote. I'm like, they don't want to vote.
Wow.
Wow.
That's when you need to move on. But first of all, you wanna know who before you knock
Well-
on that door, you know who lives there.
Yeah, I mean-
But you lost by 3 votes. So, to me, even though they're not the voters, you may be able to talk and make something clear where they understand they need to vote. I just feel we can't give up on helping people understand the importance. I know a lot of them still won't, but we gotta keep trying. Dr. Kimball was gonna say something, Jackie wants to say
Oh.
something.
Well, you can get county election board to give you names and addresses of the registered voters in Berks. I mean, to avoid knocking on doors of somebody who's not registered to vote, but.
I want to follow up on that, but maybe afterwards. All I want to say is I'm just 2 weeks short of living here in Ferguson for 2 years. I have not seen one voter registration drive. I think we had a municipal election for alder people or council people and an election for mayor. No one that I could find was doing voter registration here. I've seen no leadership from our state representatives on this. We have one in Ferguson who ran unopposed. More power to her. I think everybody's happy with her, everything. But she's perfectly placed to get even more people to register to vote for her. Instead of winning 1-0, she could win 10,000 to nothing. And our state senator, has he even been in Ferguson in his term? This is appalling political leadership we have here. And I don't think we really can do much until the political leadership hears our cry.
Fresh eyes from another place. But somebody's gonna find you if you're in charge of that. So thank you. Thank you for pointing that out.
I'm an old man, I don't run for things. I vote for young people. So I vote for young people.
And I just also want to recognize Don. Don is our experienced community organizer.
Where do we find the information about how to set up registration places? What are we?
Voter registration.
I can do it. I know how to do it.
Yeah, I
I've
mean,
been doing it
now-
for years.
If you have like a iPad or a tablet, you can just show the person the link to register and they sign with their fingertip on it, put in their address and stuff.
In Missouri,
You can do that in Missouri.
can't register, you can get the application to register.
Yeah, but if they do it on a tablet, like an iPad or something, even if it's your iPad, they're still the one filling it out and they're the one signing it. Yeah, and I don't know, I mean, I know there's this law about mass voter, but like,
No, no,
that's
that's a
if you-
different thing, that's
yeah,
a different thing
yeah.
altogether.
yeah,
It's very frustrating that we can't do that. There are certain registrars that can do that.
yeah,
Ferguson Public Library has one.
yeah,
But one of the things
Or-
we can do, like if we organize, like one of the things I did was when I was going door to door and I came across somebody who wasn't registered, I gave them an application.
yeah,
I said, hey, if you need me to mail it for you, I can. So I did get a few people registered and unfortunately they couldn't vote because it was too late.
Too late.
By the time I
Right.
got to them,
Yeah.
you know, April was right around the
Yeah.
corner. I said, well, hey, we got an election coming up in August. We got one in November, so we can register. So, I mean, there's things we can do.
I'm glad to talk to you about that
Yeah.
after this.
Or
Okay.
the Secretary of State's office has a form, if you wanna register with the state as a registrar, meaning you're gonna help multiple people, you could fill out the form, send it to them.
You're not paid by a campaign.
Right, right, and they just file it away and nobody's gonna investigate.
Well,
Things.
even so.
But I don't know,
I
I shouldn't
follow
say
the
that.
law.
but- Yeah, that's right, yeah.
So I'm
But
just interrupting
you could-
just for a second to say, okay, this is the conclusion of phase one of, and proud segment of this collection. So thank you, everybody, for coming, and particularly thank our guest speaker, Dr. Kimball.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me, pleasure to be here.
If your students want some extra credit in the spring, then
So,
I'm on my way.
so is there phase two, step one?